Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Monday night live stream. Tonight, we're going to be talking about all those cool fashion things that we wore in the 80s that we thought were so cool. And now we show people pictures of ourselves in the 80s only to be embarrassed. But before we get to that, I got a couple of things I need to address here. As you might have noticed, the last time I was with you, I didn't play the introduction because of the copyright issue with the song. And I've mentioned about the copyright issue with the song that I had these copyright claims going through. And so I just decided to, and I, said several times about the song that I got it as a free version off of YouTube. It was listed under free music, free copyright free music, and I used it. And this band called Vegan Vampire suddenly, after a year, made a claim saying that it was a song of theirs. And at the very beginning, because I knew where I got it from, I didn't say, hey, I didn't. Sorry, let me backtrack. I didn't go listen to it because I thought for sure it wasn't the same song because I know where I got the song from, so it couldn't have been Vegan Vampire songs. It must just sound like it. Lo and behold, I went and looked up the song by Vegan Vampire, and it is the same song. So I was rather puzzled because, again, I know where I got the song from. I got it off of a place here on YouTube that makes copyright-free music. So then I noticed that Vegan Vampire put another claim in on another song, and they were claiming it was the same song. It was Vegan Vampire something part 4. And on my homepage, on my homepage, that little video of me playing with my Star Wars toys and showing you tapes and CDs and all that stuff, it's a completely different song. So Vegan Vampire said that was their song too, and they said it was. Not only they say that was their song too, but they said it was the same song, and they're clearly different songs. So my suspicion is that Vegan Vampire is going around getting these copyright-free music and putting claims on them, maybe filing for copyright on it. So the first time I contacted YouTube, I just said, well, this isn't the same song. And then I listened to the song. I'm like, well, it is the same song. And then I found out that there are two different songs. And I put in to YouTube, I think Vegan Vampire is not being on the up and up here. Well, lo and behold, good news of all good news, YouTube has ruled in my favor that on 3 occasions now. So on 3 occasions, because every time you play the song, they'll put a copyright claim in. So on 3 of those things, I had to write the dispute. And 3 for 3 now, they've come back to me and said, after reviewing, we realize that this is not that anyway, but they ruled in my favor. I don't know about the technical legal jargon of it, but they ruled in my favor. So I'm very happy about it. Now, I still might choose another song because I don't want to have to sit and write a dispute every time I play that damn song, quite frankly, which seems like it would be something that I would have to do. Every time I play it, then the copyright comes in because it's all on automatic algorithms and things of that nature. And so I would have to type in again saying, hey, this is not that song or whatever. I have to do it all again. So I might choose a different song eventually. Eventually, I might choose a different song. But I thought I'd go ahead and bring that song up with the little montage that I created there from all the other live streams. And anyway, that's one thing I wanted to take care of. The second thing I wanted to take care of is the last time I was with you on the live stream, I said something that was a little bit like I didn't really mean it, but like, it was a little overreaching. And I said that I think drugs should be legal. I did not mean hard drugs. I had an actual fan contact me, and they're like, well, I'm surprised you think drugs should be legal. And I said, no, I don't mean like hard drugs. That's not what I'm not mean like cocaine and heroin. I was just talking like marijuana, things like that. I think it's ridiculous for marijuana to be a Schedule 1 drug. And anyway, so I just wanted to make that clear. And the person who contacted me said, well, you should clear that up because it doesn't sound good. And they were worried I was going to lose some listeners or some followers as a result of saying that. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I do not believe that hard drugs should be legal. I was just talking about other drugs. Anyway, all right. Well, with that said, we're going to go ahead and bring my friend on here, Thrash Pondo Pawns. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing awesome as always. How are you doing tonight there, boss?
I'm doing good. I'm actually very happy.
So glad to hear.
Um, for reasons not quite yet ready to talk about yet. Here, maybe.
Ooh, you dog, you.
Anyway, but I'm happy too that those copyright claims came back in my favor. So that's really
Yeah.
good. And anyway,
Sure.
uh, yeah. So let's get into it. Let's just get into it. Now, I did have some bad news too, and that is still StreamYard has not let anybody come back on as a co-host. So
Oh, for
I still have
God's
to
sake.
I know I have to still highlight them, but I'm going to let you read them because everybody here knows how good I am at reading. I read out loud like it's my first time I've ever read. So, which
And
is
me
funny
read good.
because yeah, you read good. So then last week, and then I forgot to mention this too. I mentioned it in a post, but I didn't mention it on video. Last week there was no live stream because of the shooting that happened in Nashville, and the actual place that got shot up was a school of a church that's a sister church to the church I go to. And so they had a Monday night kind of prayer, not a vigil, but like a prayer kind of question and answer kind of thing, and get together and talk about it and stuff like that. And this is we've all heard of school shootings, and they're all very tragic. But up to this point, this has all been people, I don't know, and not even one step removed. This is it's been on TV in some other town that I haven't even been to. But I still don't know these people that well because I'm new to Tennessee, but I'm at a church that knows these people. I mean, these are people that they know these people, so it's a lot closer to home. So anyway, that's why I took off last Monday. So please be keeping that in your prayers. But speaking of reading and reading poorly, they did ask me to do the reading on Good Friday. This Good Friday, they're like,
Oh.
"Will you do the reading?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I can manage." I read goodly. I read okay.
Oh,
I mean,
while we're on the
yes,
subject, can I ask you a quick question about Good Friday? Because
sure,
maybe you could settle for me, please? Okay.
yeah,
I've always wondered why. Now, of course, Jesus was born on the same day. It's always December 25th. But the date of his death changes every year. I believe it's the first Sunday after the first Monday after the first full moon of the vernal equinox. Not even sure how they settled on that. Council in the Athea, thank you very much. But I
right,
was talking with people at work. I go, like, use my grandfather an example. He was born on a day and he died on a day, and neither one of those days change every year. So why would
right,
Jesus's death day change every year? And someone at work said, well, because of Good Friday. It always has to be the Good Friday to that Easter Sunday because it's a very sacred time. And I went,
like
so,
that doesn't make much sense, right?
well, well, it made sense in the term of his death day probably wouldn't change over from year to year to year, but the celebration, the vigil, the remembrance of his death needs to be that Friday to Sunday sort of long weekend. Is that the
Right.
case, or is there another layer to it?
No, there's another layer to it. Well, he died on Passover. And so Passover in the Jewish calendar changes from year to year because they go off a lunar calendar and not off a solar calendar. And so the Passover date changes every year. So we just celebrate his Good Friday on whatever the Passover date changes from year to year. So that kind of changes that a little bit. As far as I know, I mean, I could definitely be wrong, but that's what I remember hearing at one time. So that's why it changes every year, because the celebration of Passover isn't on the same day. Well, it's on the same day on the Jewish calendar, but that
But no,
calendar changes on the solar calendar from year to year. Anyway,
that makes perfect
all right.
sense. Thank you. Thank you. That makes
Let's
perfect sense.
yeah, no problem. Let's say hi to some people in the channel who are here,
Let's.
and say hello.
Tom Hungry Jerk says, I'll be back later. We'll be here waiting.
Okay, and
Lance Chafin says, hiya, Ian. Guess no thrash tonight.
no, well, he said that before he got there, and I wrote this.
And Retro Serial says, thrash is going to be here last, I heard.
Yes, and here you are. So, all right, we said hi to Hungry Jerk. We said hi to Lance. Let me see here. Oh my goodness, look who it is.
Tracy Rothmeyers, Bubba.
Lovely and talented Tracy.
Says
How
hi,
are
guys.
you? All right. Oh yes, definitely, for sure.
Lance Chafin says, Ian, ever need a co-host? I'm right here.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. All right, and Hungry Jerk writes,
I missed the stream last night, had to work. He's referring to mine. You missed all the fun technical difficulties. But you know what? You can always take my trivia game and replay.
yeah.
And Teresa Rosemeyer says, hi, Ian.
Hi, Tracy. Hi, okay. And let's see. Lance Chafin writes,
I worked at Ruby Tuesday. I put the pounds on. How could you not?
Yes. All right, I just want to get through some of the people who are here. Oh, guess who else is here?
Superplex is here, says good evening.
Good evening, Superplex. Good evening. I know there's a few more listeners out there. Let's see here.
Teresa Rosemeyer says, hey guys, anyone here play music? Please do Ian a solid with original music of his very own.
Yeah. I play music. I thought about, but I don't have a studio other than just this right here. So I thought about going in and recording a song. But thank you, Tracy. I mean, if anybody else wants to do it for me, please, by all means, I'll let you know what I'm looking for too.
Daryl Johnson is here and he goes, Ian.
Ian, yes. I'm sure he means thrash too. By extension.
I'm sure he'll mention me later.
Yeah. And then,
Either he'll be Thrash or Bub. Teresa Rothmeyer says, Robert,
yes. So this is going to be a little bit. So I'm going to double duty on this one, guys. You guys all know about the double duty that I do on these live streams. Normally, what I like to do is I like to do a podcast and then a live stream on the same subject. This is going to be a little bit of both. So I'm going to try to get to the comments as much as possible, but I want to talk about like my experiences with fashion in the 80s and Thrash's experience with fashion in the 80s. And then we might even do like one in the 70s and one in the 90s, or, we might mix it up here. But I have to tell you all a story before we get too far down the list. Oh, wait a minute. We got somebody else here.
Oh, Crossing the Door is here. Hello, Crossing the Door.
Hi.
And says, the Vatican Council has to vote to change it, and they want to vote to create a set date.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. I don't know how well that would how that would affect the Protestants, but the Catholics. I mean, if the Catholics do it, then of course it will affect their church. But I don't know how it would affect the Protestant church, if at all. So when I was in 6th grade, I got into heavy metal music, as I told you before. My favorite band in 6th grade was Iron Maiden. Later, it became Wasp, and then it became Motley Crue for many years. And I went to go get a haircut in 6th grade. And this girl was a student haircutter, and she butchered my hair. She absolutely butchered my hair. I don't know. There was some type of mistake that was made and some communication or something like that. So I was trying to grow my hair long and just get a trim. But then I had to go and I had to get a short haircut. I mean, like a really, really short haircut. Another guy fixed the hair uh, for us, for us. But that year, I dressed like Don Johnson from Miami Vice, Crockett, sixth grade, looking like Crockett. I had the white coat, the T-shirt, the slacks, all that stuff. But in my locker, they actually called me Whitey, and not because I'm white. They called me Whitey. Like, and I didn't know that that was my nickname in the sixth grade. I'm just walking down the hall, and somebody told me, it's like, yeah, they call you Whitey. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess because I wear a lot of white. So, but I had the whole Don Johnson setup thing going on. But I was really into, but I was really into heavy metal, and all the seventh graders that year, and I was in sixth grade. All the seventh graders that year that I was kind of looking up to because they were a whole grade, beyond me. They were wearing the concert T-shirt, and the Rat and the Motley Crue T-shirt, and they had the denim jacket over it. Was that popular when you were a kid?
Not only was the denim jacket really, really popular, it was the infamous jeans suit. You had to wear jeans and a denim jacket together. It was sort of an ensemble. And a concert shirt always made it. Iron Maiden was very, very, very big. Metallica.
Yeah.
I was watching something old on YouTube, and I forget the name of them. We used to call them baseball shirts. They had a white chest and back, but the sleeves and collar matched, and they were like long sleeve T-shirts. And you always get them in like really cool colors, like royal blue or maroon or something like that. And some people used to make those into concert T-shirts. And again, always with the denim jacket, unless and I'll get into this in a little bit, unless you were going the paramilitary route, where you would wear like olive drab. Olive drab became kind of popular in my area. But yes, the jean jackets were always very, very popular in my area. I had several over the course of the 80s.
Well, the other thing these kids were wearing was the scarf, but backwards down here. I don't know if that was a thing. Like they would wear it backwards, like the kind of scarf, like
The bandana.
The bandana. Yeah, the bandana.
bandana,
They wear it backwards down here. So, the previous year I'm dressing like Don Johnson. So the next year I'm like, well, I'm going to fit in with these guys because these guys are all the stoners. So I get my denim jacket the next year because they're going to be in eighth grade. I'm going to be in seventh grade, and they're going to be at the same school I am still. So because we were in middle school, not junior high. So, I figure I'll fit in with these guys because even though I'm dressing like Don Johnson, I'm still got this soul of a metalhead. And so the next year, I bought all the heavy metal gear, and every single one of them the year after that, they weren't wearing that anymore. I was like a year behind in my fashion. It was the worst. I felt so bad because I'm like, oh, I'll fit in now, not realizing that trends change over
Dun,
time.
dun, dun, dun.
Oh, it was bad. What about I'm trying to look through here at some fashion here. Look, Lance Chafin writes this here.
I had a pair of parachute pants. Yes, I remember they were very popular in the 80s.
I'd love to see parachute pants come back in style, quite honestly. I liked them, made out of that parachute material. I don't know. Maybe I should just wear them anyway. What did you have parachute pants, or was that not your thing?
They didn't really work for me. I was always a little on the husky size. So, but I love those cargo pants, not the shorts, but they were full-length pants, but had a lot of pockets on them.
Yeah.
They had like the two sets of front pockets. I love those, and because I had a thing for pockets. I was like Doctor Who. I'll keep this in this pocket, that in that pocket, this in this pocket. My clothes were always very utilitarian, if you know what I mean.
Right. So a little bit more functional.
Exactly.
Did you go for comfort? Did you go for comfort over style?
I always had to. I always went for comfort over style. But I always found you could always do both. Like for
Okay.
example, like denim jackets, always very, very comfortable. You know, one of the jacket was very, very comfortable. I don't know if you remember these. Do you remember Barracuda jackets?
No.
Barracuda jackets. Before Fonzie got the leather jacket, he wore a
Hmm.
Barracuda jacket. They were basically a canvas windbreaker with a flannel lining, and they were very
Oh,
comfortable and surprisingly warm, but good for that sort of, winter's not quite over, but it hasn't started getting
right.
warm yet. They were perfect that in between seasons. And originally they came in like two colors, khaki and navy blue. I had a navy blue one because in my area, everyone had a Barracuda jacket. And I like the navy blue one. They later got into different colors. They had burgundies and Kelly greens. They try to do it in those neutral colors that you can wear with everything. Um,
Mhm.
but those were always very, very comfortable. You know what else was surprisingly comfortable? I found getting back to it. Do you remember the sort of heyday with the Army Navy stores in
The
like early
heyday
mid
with the.
'80s,
Oh
where
yes,
Army
yes,
Army Navy
yes.
stores popped up everywhere?
Right,
My
right.
friends and I, we used to wear a lot of like old military clothing because I mean it was canvas, but it was so comfortable, and you could use the shirts almost like a windbreaker because they were so big and baggy, and
Right.
the pants you could wear them like when you were out horsing around playing like ball or whatever, and they get dirty, they'd come really, really clean. They wore like iron, but they were always like so comfortable. So
Right.
um you could be stylish and comfortable at the same time, at least in men's clothing. It's my understanding women's
Yeah.
clothing weren't nearly as cozy.
No, no. I remember the women's clothing with the big pads on the shoulder pads, the power suit for the women.
Or their jeans always had to be so tight it cut off the blood flow. And
Yeah.
flattering though it was very unfair. The '80s were not a fair time. You can't say the '80s were fair. We had
Yeah.
fun during them, but there was a certain disparity. Oh, Tom says I wore socks with my topsiders, unlike Don Johnson.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I didn't really do the no socks thing. I mean, I did from time to time, but I didn't really do the no socks thing. But do you remember the members only jackets too?
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember
Yeah.
those. Yeah. Those
Yeah.
were slick. Ken Wilkinson says, "Good evening, ENC and Bob."
Good
Good evening to
evening,
you as well.
Kenneth. Okay, and then I think I got a longer quote here. So, Maiden, and anyway, so
Take them to the Iron Maiden. Zuplik says, "What I remember most were those stupid leg warmers for those practicing aerobic exercises following the influence of Jane Fonda, who made a career out of it.
yeah, I
Those
remember
knit
those
leg
too.
warmers.
Oh yeah,
They,
yeah. Well, I used to watch a show called 20 Minute Workout. It was on TV. I used to try to do that as well, and I remember those leg warmers.
they
Go
were
ahead.
always really loud colors too. They were always like fluorescent pink or banana yellow. Tom says 80s fashion. Ugh.
Ugh. I know a lot of it is ugh. I don't think any of it's really come back. It's kind of different than, for example, like not that I'm going to really talk about '90s fashion here, but I mean there are still things about the '90s that I still do today, and that I still wear today. An over excessive plaid, the whole like t-shirt with the shirt underneath it, that kind of thing that was real popular in the '90s. I still do a lot of '90s stuff today,
I
but
never stopped.
but '80s, I
Yeah.
really can't think of anything from the '80s that I mean, I might, just it's just escaping my memory right now. But there are still some things about the '80s that there
Well,
aren't anything about the '80s that I wear today.
I remember the '80s, and I don't do these anymore. I promise you. I remember men starting to wear shorts when they were at the beach became a big thing, particularly things like jams and Bermuda shorts. Those really loud, obnoxious floral print shorts.
Yeah, yeah.
That, yeah, and I would wear them. I remember Chucky Taylor's. made a huge comeback in the 80s, the canvas high top sneakers. And I would get like the most obnoxious colored ones I could find. Like, again, fluorescent yellow, or I still have a really cool turquoise pair, and I'd wear them with my jams, and then a Hawaiian shirt, and I was styling.
Yeah. That sounds very loud, but I do remember the Bermuda shorts. I thought they were pretty cool. I had some Bermuda shorts myself.
Oh, Tracy says, Ian Badass Don Johnson.
Yeah, that's right.
And Lance Chafin says, shoes but no socks.
Yeah, shoes, but yeah, that was
You know what? That started out as
I didn't go ahead.
That started out as a preppy thing. That actually started out up here in the Northeast with those Ivy Leaguers. And somehow it became like a Don Johnson tough guy thing to do. But it started out because they were always, they were heading out to the water. Oh, they were going to the Fagawi Ball or the Wiono Club. Oh, and they were all heading to their boat. So, you'd wear shoes so you don't get a splinter on the dock, but you wouldn't bother putting socks on because you're just going to take the shoes off the second you're on your boat. So that's why they started doing that. And then cool people like Don Johnson and others started doing it. It became more of a fashion statement. But I was getting a kick out of that.
I remember people in California doing it too, and I wonder if it had something to do with the beach.
It did,
because they're gonna go to the beach, and they didn't necessarily. I remember the low cut Vans, basically the low cut Vans, and then you didn't wear the socks with those Vans. I think I'm saying that right? The Vans shoes.
I think so. I know what you're talking about, but Tom says I had a Motley Crue T-shirt once.
Once I had a bunch.
I was going to say once. And Lance Chapin says the Canadian tuxedo. Is that a jean suit?
I don't know what a Canadian. Maybe
I think it's a jean suit.
That yeah. Let's see.
Zuplik says dumbest hairstyle was the Eraserhead from Kid and Play.
The Eraserhead.
That was up there.
Is that the kind of the high flat top?
The very, very, very high fro. Yes.
Was that 80s?
It was on the cusp. It was on the. I think House Party was like 89. So it was really on the. I picture it more 90s, but it may have been 80s. I think the silliest haircut of the 80s, though. Do you remember Tiger Stripes?
No.
Tiger Stripes. Guys they'd get like a crew cut, but they'd have it even tighter on the sides. And then what you would do is they'd take a razor and they would draw these lines, like 3 lines on the side of your head. So it looked like some type of wildcat had gone across the side of your head.
Oh. And
we called them Tiger Stripes. And that was really, really big, probably around my freshman year in college. So 86, 87. But I was like, it looked ridiculous. And the funny thing is, how sometimes this guy can pull it off, but this guy can't, or the muscleheads can pull it off, but the geeks can't. No, whoever had that, it looked ridiculous on them.
It looked like it can pull off. Well, the hairstyle that I hated the most was the mullet. I didn't even like it back in the 80s. Seriously, the Joe Elliott, people were like, I didn't like it. I wanted my hair long everywhere. I wanted it long, and I dyed it blonde because I wanted to really be Vince Neil. So that's what I wanted to do. So, but it wasn't. I didn't have the grunge thing yet, where it was kind of long and even all around. But I did have it long everywhere. It wasn't just long in the back. That seemed to be almost like where I was from, anyway. That seemed to be almost the sociably acceptable long hair. Like if you had long hair but it was short in the front, you were still a good student and you didn't do drugs. But if you had it long everywhere, you were a druggie. And so, I didn't ever like that short in the front. Now, I think when I very first started growing my hair a little longer, there was a time where I kind of had it a little bit longer in the back and shorter in the front. But that lasted maybe my first haircut. After that, I just kind of grew it long everywhere. I did not care for the L7.
Well, I remember in the 70s, all the kids in my area grew their hair long. And in the 80s, that was out. So throughout the 80s, I always had very short hair. In fact, My whole crew cut phase was actually in the 80s somewhere. I think I even have photos of me with a crew cut. But anyway, I remember in high school having a crush actually on a girl in one of the hairdressing places. So I had my hair cut like every other week.
Oh yeah, you got to go in.
So
Like,
my hair was always short, particularly in the mid 80s.
right. Oh, that's interesting. That probably had to do something with the type of music you were interested in, because as I recall, you were always kind of a left to the dial kind of person. You were never really into heavy metal.
Well, yes and no. I did like some heavy metal, but I was more into things like at that time I was into the Who. I was into Pink Floyd. I loved the second British invasion. That and old Motown.
Yeah,
So I kind of
yeah.
ran the gambit
Right,
at,
right. I knew
at that
people
time.
who
Yeah.
were like, one of the fashion things that I never got into was the new wave stuff though. I didn't really do the new wave. I mean, my hair never looked like Flock of Seagulls, or The Cure or anything like that. I was always in the 80s. I was always a metalhead. I got way more into new wave later, after alternative rock hit. But by that time the fashion had gone out. I wasn't dressing that way. Look at this.
Tom says camo was popular too. Yeah, that whole again, um, uh, you know, Army Navy store look. Army Navy
Yeah.
stores, I remember, were really, really, really popular at that time, and we bought the outfits, we bought the kit. I remember I didn't buy a lot of this. I don't know if I mentioned this guy. He was one of our neighbors at the time. He was a retired army drill sergeant, and became like a surrogate father figure to me for a while, and gave me a bunch of the stuff that he had kept over the years. And I had like a whole U.S. Army training kit. I had like the sleeping bag and the mess kit. And when I went camping, I looked like a soldier because I had all
You
this
were gonna
like
be
old
a
army gear.
you were gonna be a survivalist, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. You know what triggered that? You can thank Red Dawn for that because
Yes.
Red Dawn.
Well,
I
Red
had a
Dawn
friend.
and Rambo.
Well, of course. But remember Red Dawn? I had a friend at the time who said that Red Dawn should be a training film. They should be compulsory viewing in like schools across America, because when the Russians did invade, it was going to be teenage partisans which pushed them
Yeah.
back.
Right.
But I did have the camping kit, so I was halfway there. No firearms. That was a little too real for me.
That was a little much, huh?
Yeah, that's a little much. Yeah, I was going to fight them with what's in here.
Oh. Well, good luck against the tank.
Well, yeah, I know. I didn't really think myself all the way through.
You're like, let me see.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I'm sorry. Lance Chafin says mesh tops. I could
Never
never
had
wear a
one.
mesh top.
Are you kidding? I mean, I would never even be caught dead. I wouldn't be caught dead in a mesh top today. Like, I did remember
Uh,
some people wearing mesh tops, but good night. I remember when guys would wear cut off t-shirts. Like,
mhm.
that was like, okay, all right. I think that's kind of girly, but whatever.
Well, I'll tell you something. When I played football, we used to cut off, not to wear to class, but for under our uniforms, we used to
Yes,
cut
I do
the
know that.
t-shirts
Yes. Yeah.
because you would any inch of surface area you could it helped you keep you from sweating, getting like overheated. So we'd literally cut the t-shirts off just so we'd have the protection under the pads, but we'd get more like skin breathing. So that may have been how that started. The guys with the really nice bodies decided, hey, you know what? I could pull this look off. I
I
never
could just,
had such a
right,
situation.
right. Me neither.
And Liv David says, and Swatch. Yes, swatches were king back in the 80s.
I loved swatches. I had a few different ones. They're cheap. You could buy them and still look really cool. I enjoyed them. And the other thing that I wore that was, well, a little bit fruity, but we're not going to count it because it was the 80s. Was those? I wear the swatch, but I also wear those jelly bracelets. Because some guys would wear the jelly bracelets,
I don't recall those.
the gel bracelets, and then like some people put one over, but then like you could do two together and then put them over.
Huh.
You never wear the gel bracelets, the little jelly, they're thin little gel bracelets. Anyway,
I
wore
remember
them
Madonna used
on
to like. She
occasion.
started the trend of she had all those little black you know, plastic bracelets that she'd wear like up her arm. You don't mean those, do you?
Right.
Those?
No,
Oh,
no, not the black ones. They were colored. But I did
uh-huh.
like the Madonna cut off gloves. The cut off
Oh
gloves. Oh,
yeah.
the one trend that I did try to get into because it got the parachute pants was the break dancing. Like the whole break dancing thing with the gloves,
Mhm.
with the driver gloves, but the cut off with the knuckles cut out and stuff like that. Oh, I wanted some of those. So I think I had a pair at one time, but I want. Oh my goodness, those are the envy.
Tracy says a guy's leather jacket for me, with a black blouse or white blouse, with black stirrup pants and a bob haircut.
Oh yes, a bob haircut. Yes, yeah, I could see you rocking that, Tracy, back in the day. I'm sure that looked great. And you
You mean
also write
like
this too.
a Pat Benatar haircut, or more uh oh
Well, the bob haircut is a longer haircut, but it's just kind of curled in at the bottom.
you're right. I'm thinking pixie. I'm sorry, disregard. I
Yeah,
knew girls with bobs back in the day, but for some reason I had
yeah,
pixie stuck in my head. Disregard.
yeah. The pixie haircut.
Then she goes on to say, lots of Goodwill shopping. Oh, I know. The MTV had a whole series about how to find deals in like thrift stores and Goodwill shops and that type of thing back in the day. And now you could get great vintage clothes, which is, 80s. That was the weirdest thing about the 80s. It was incredibly cutting edge. It was incredibly forward thinking. It was incredibly new. And yet it was possibly the most nostalgic retro decade up until the 22nd first century, because we loved things from the 50s, we loved things from the 60s, we loved things from the Second World War. It was a great duality that I don't know how we reconciled, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. But the thing it's again, like I think unique about the '80s is like if I got a '50s jacket today,
Mhm.
people would go, "That's really cool." I could wear it out and it not be ironic. If I wore a Michael Jackson outfit out today, they would think I'm going to a costume party. If I put on a pair of parachute pants today with some of the stuff, they would actually think I was going to a costume party. But so like the retro clothes of yesterday, I think maybe some stuff in the '70s might get that response too, but definitely the '80s. Like it's almost impossible to really re-wear anything that was popular then.
Well, you know why? You know why?
Well, why?
Well, it's because the 80s were all about pushing the boundaries. You weren't
Yes.
thinking good taste. You weren't thinking, will this be in next year? You're like, I'm going to walk onto campus today. Everyone is going to go, what? And maybe tomorrow they'll all start doing it. Maybe tomorrow I'll stop doing it altogether, but I'm going to create a splash. And the thing about a splash, you can't recreate a splash. It becomes a footnote. Um, Fashion in the 50s never really went away, and that's why to this day, I mean, it might look a little dated, but in a sort of a fun, nostalgic kind of way. Jeans have never gone away. Leather jackets have never
Yes.
gone away. So
Mm.
that's why they're still with us. But in the 80s, we always, anything we did, we were making a statement. And that's
Right,
why.
right.
Ozublik says, pull up sleeves a la Michael Jackson. Dumb.
Dumb, dumb.
Oh, and Tracy says, and dark Martens.
Yeah. Doc Martens was a thing in the '80s. I remember
Mhm.
it being in the '80s, but for me, I had a pair of Doc Martens in the '90s. And they exploded in the 90s with the whole grunge movement and everything. But I do remember people in the 80s wearing them. And it was just part of that whole underground music scene that started in the 80s and then exploded in the 90s. But go ahead.
Weren't they really, really big in the UK before they got here, and it was part of that second British invasion type situation? There's a bell
Dude,
ringing in my head.
I think even punk rockers in the 70s were wearing Doc Martens. So I think it kind of it was kind of like the working man's. It was kind of like the working man's clothes. Like if you're going to go to work and you're going to work in a factory, you're wearing Doc Martens. Well, the same guy who works in the factory is off playing punk rock and then at night on the weekends. And then the punk rock scene explodes, and then you get into the 80s and the underground scene, and they never went away. But I mean, I had them in the 90s, but I do distinctively remember them in the 80s for sure. But I loved them. I should go get a pair of them now that I think about it. A pair of Doc.
I need the arch support.
Yeah. Right. All right, let's see here. We got another.
Unless Chafin says, and RayBans. I had a pair of RayBans.
Oh, yeah, RayBans for sure. I loved RayBans. Sunglasses. I think RayBans are still pretty cool. Maybe that is an 80s. Maybe that is an 80s thing that you can wear today and it not be ironic. Maybe. I don't know.
Probably.
Anyway.
Possibly. Oh, and Lance Chafin says fanny packs.
Fanny packs. Fanny packs. Anyway,
it was sort of a belt, but it had a big.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
It had a big pouch on it, and it was for like people who jogged or did a lot of biking, so they would have like a place to keep their stuff, wallet, keys, insulin, that type of thing.
So, in the 90s, when I went to school in Texas and we were getting ready to go over to Israel, they were talking about what you should wear and keep with you. And we had people at our school from all around the world. And because it was like a missionary training school. And there were some people from Australia there, some girls from Australia there. And we kept saying fanny packs because the guy was just like, hey, you got to wear fanny packs and got to put that in. And, and this is where you're going to keep your wallet and stuff like that. Well, apparently in Australia, fanny is the equivalent to female genitalia. Like it's a slang word. And they were livid. Horrifying. They kept saying, can you not call it that? Can you please not call it that? And you think about it, like we're thinking this is nothing, but apparently it's a very offensive word.
In the UK too. Yeah.
Oh, is it in the UK as well?
Which is funny because for those of you Game of Thrones fans, there's a certain word they say in Game of Thrones which absolutely horrifies Americans. There was a comedian who did a whole bit about that. He goes, "That's what I love about Americans. You have no problem at all with profanity, except one word, and it's one word which isn't really a big deal in the UK, but here it's like, and in Game of Thrones they say it all the time, but." Fanny is an actually much bigger no-no there. So I apologize to all my UK fans out there.
Yes, if there's any from the UK, like this, it's seriously, it's not even a word here. Like it's not even a big deal. If anything, it means your rear end.
Posterior. Yeah, it means your backside.
Yeah.
Zublick says, Friends had an episode pointing to the stupidity of 80s styles. Yeah, a lot of shows did.
Yeah. Kind of that.
I
remember that one with Chandler wearing the flock of seagulls haircut kind of thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
There was a club down here that for a while was doing 80s nights where people would dress up in as craziest and 80s ensembles as they could come up with.
Right.
People love to make fun of the 80s clothing, that is. Tracy says lots of band butters and safety pins.
Now I don't know what band butters are. Are those? Oh, maybe buttons. Maybe band buttons.
Like pins.
Yeah, like pin.
And which you wear on your you'd wear on your denim jacket, and not just bands, but they'd say things like "My karma ran over my dogma,"
Yeah.
or my mom thinks
Like
I'm in
I'm a
college.
yeah, I'm okay, you're okay kind of a thing. Yeah. All right, let's see. I am gonna
Dragon
skip
Riders
down a
do it in
little.
between.
Right.
Yes, I was a geek in the 80s.
I can tell.
Oh, Cindy D's here.
Okay, Sydney D, I haven't gotten down to you yet. I'm sorry.
Well, I
Uh,
did. Eh. Oh, here's one. Tracy says, in my area, members only jackets warm my dad's.
yeah. Okay, we're worn by dads. Yeah, it's kind of a dad
Or
thing to
warm,
wear.
like her dad kept warm by wearing a members only jacket,
I see.
which is odd because they weren't particularly like sturdy, but the
No, they
sentiment
weren't
is there.
particularly warm. Yeah,
Mm. No, they were just for members, to
yeah.
show that you belong to the club, not to try to keep you warm. Les David says Jordache jeans.
Jordache jeans. And
The
while we're
Jordache
on
logo.
it, 501. Remember the 501 jeans?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah, and the Bugle Boy jeans.
mm-hmm.
Mm. Oh, and look
Yeah,
at this.
designer jeans were big back then.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, stone wash jeans. I went through a stone wash phase myself, actually. Or
Did
acid.
you?
Do you remember? Yeah, or do you remember acid wash?
What's the difference?
Stone wash looks like they've just been through the washer a whole lot of times, but it's this nice even tint. Acid wash looks like literally just the color had been like ripped out of them. like,
Oh yeah. Okay. All
yeah.
right. Yeah, I get. I didn't. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
good. I didn't know. I actually didn't know the
Yeah.
difference between that
Yeah.
because I had both. But I had jeans that I would wear that I would not stone wash them, but I acid wash them. So they were black jeans, but they had white spots on them everywhere. You know, that I actually put bleach on it. You know.
One of my favorite stories is I was in college and I was joining a fraternity. And one of the things you'd have to do is the pledges would have to do the laundry of the existing brothers, just
Yeah.
as an act of contrition. And this one guy was doing his laundry, and I decided to throw in something of mine while I was washing his, because that's what you do in college. You just stuff the washer full, And I had this jacket. I guess you'd say, we used to say we were on maneuvers. That's
Uh-huh.
we were out in the woods getting into all kinds of shenanigans. The jacket was filthy, absolutely filthy. I think I slept in a swamp that night, and I throw it in his wash with his brand new pair of white jeans, and they came out of the wash. It looked like someone tried to tie dye them with wolf spider brown dye. It was just these blotches of like, ugh. And I decided that I would just like soak them in bleach, which somehow just made it worse. And I remember I stalled, and he kept saying, "Hey, Bobby, where's my jeans? They weren't in the." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to put those in when I did the laundry. I'll get them in the next batch. I'll get them right back to you." And I actually stalled him until I became a full-fledged brother, so he could not kill me when I told him that I destroyed his jeans.
You destroyed it. You destroyed his jeans. Uh, did did you ever throw like a red thing in with your whites and have them turn out pink or no? You did that.
Yep.
I see.
Mhm.
I didn't. I did
Yep.
not because
Yep.
I have been doing my own laundry pretty much since I was 9, and so I knew that was a no-no. Because growing up single mom, there's a lot of responsibilities that I take on my own. So I've kind of been doing my own wash since I was 9 years old. And so when one kid came to school, and we were in the locker room and for PE, and he had like a pink T-shirt and pink, and it was obviously not true pink. It was obviously a mistake
Hint
pink.
of.
You can tell.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah. He goes, I washed some clothes last night. I kept thinking, man, what an idiot, man. Doesn't he know you're not supposed to throw anything red into something white? I mean, come on, man. I've been washing, I think he was like maybe 14 or 15 at the time. But again, I had been washing my clothes since I was 9, so I was about to make that mistake.
Well, my
Uh,
wife won't even wash anything red with our black clothing. And I'm like, how can you stain black clothing red? She's, I don't care. I'm not washing the reds get all washed by themselves. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I did that for the first time. Even today, if I wash something that's red, I wash it by itself the first time. I don't know why, or with other red things anyway.
how
All
about it?
right, let's see what other kind of things. Here we go.
Then it says Tracy Jelly Shoes.
Uh, and then Tracy writes back,
No jelly shoes for me.
"No jelly shoes for me either."
I don't know what jelly shoes are, so I will
Oh,
defer.
they're like
Tom
clear.
says,
They're like clear jelly slippers. They're like these clear.
"Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha." Tom says, I remember wearing bell bottoms. Those were more 70s.
yeah. I bet you remember. I mean, that was more of a '70s thing, but there's always carryover. You know what I mean? There's always a few people, 81, still wearing bell bottoms, kind of thing. But they were definitely a '70s thing. All right.
Tracy says, I was a little punk girl. I can so picture
Yeah.
that. I can so picture that. Punk rock girl. Sorry.
Travel around the
We'll
world.
travel around the
Yeah.
world, you and me, eating fudge,
You and
banana,
me,
swirl.
punk rock girl.
Girl.
We're gonna get copyright for that.
I was going to say we
Yeah.
better ixnay on the ungruck girl pay. So,
Okay, let's see.
we'll see.
We gotta. Let's see. Oh, we
It's
gotta do this
magic.
one here.
Oh, Lance Jamin said Ocean Pacific. Yes. I had a pair of Ocean Pacific
OP.
uh OP. It was a bathing suit, and they were, are you sitting down? They were corduroy.
Corduroy.
Corduroy swimming trunks.
Weren't corduroy. I think I had a pair of corduroy pants, and it was the worst decision that I ever made. Yeah, corduroy just kind of throws me. It's just like, did that ever look good? But I guess it was a thing for a while, corduroy. Yeah, OPs were cool, man. That was some cool
Huge.
stuff. Yeah, I remember OP shorts and shirts and all that stuff. Let's see.
Zuplik says, I think Don Johnson popularized the stubby beards.
Yeah, for sure. He was rocking that stubby beard. Yeah.
Mhm.
I try to keep mine stubby. Let it grow. But
Oh, Les Chavin said, Izod. Yes,
yeah,
with
the eyes
a little alligator.
yeah, the alligators, those are fun.
Tracy says, I wore plaid skirts. I looked like Susie, obviously from Susie and the Banshees.
Yeah, Susie and the Banshees. Let's see.
Tom says, 80s California female bathing suits were horrible. I like them.
Yeah, I didn't hate them.
To own their age. Zubik says, the over-the-top big hairdo for women. Yeah,
Yeah,
the 80s perms were crazy. They were
the high
crazy.
hair. Yeah, I mean, you look at those old pictures there. It's like the higher the hair, the better.
Tom says, the dude from Kangaroo Kagagogo haircut. Good grief. Kagagogo. Kajagoogoo. Kajagoogoo. The new wave band. Too shy to shy. Hush, hush. Okay, it took me a second, but I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wore some big hair too back in the 80s. Like when my hair finally grew out from that sixth grade thing, by the time I'm 15, 17. 17 is when I started to do a band and the heavy metal thing and started to go alt rock. But no, I would do my hair up from time to time, on a Friday night, kind of rat it out and stuff, try to look like some hair bands kind of a thing. Let's see.
Oh, hang on. We have a couple people we haven't said hello to.
Okay, yeah, I know they're down there a bit. I know. Who didn't we not say hello to? Okay,
Cindy D.
Everybody, I am going to go down to say hi to people. So I might skip your comments here. So I'll try to catch up. But It's just the nature of the beast. I'm sorry. You have to forgive me. Hi,
Cindy D says,
Cindy.
hello, everyone.
Hello, Cindy. And then anybody else down here a ways?
She brings up a good point a little bit further later. She goes, I wore leg warmers with jeans. And girls, I remember, had jeans that were like really, really tight around the ankle.
Uh-huh.
Some of them had those little zippers on them. So I could see people doing jeans with the leg warmers over them.
Right.
In fact, I think I remember, what's her name used to do that? Miss Julie Brown, the stand-up comedian. I think she actually did that.
Oh, Julie Brown.
Julie Brown, yeah, not downtown
Yeah.
Julie Brown from MTV. Miss Julie Brown, the stand-up comedian. She was on that TV show, The State.
Yeah. It's downtown Judy Brown. Downtown.
Oh no, they're both Julie Browns. They're both Julie. They're both Julie.
I didn't know that. I thought
that's
they were
why
Judy. No, well, that'll be one we'll have to Google. Somebody later will do that. But I wanted to mention, though, that Tracy Rockmeyer's back up a ways also mentioned that Vanilla Ice had the tiger stripes. I saw that as more of a 90s.
He did.
He did.
I had forgotten.
I thought that was more of a maybe it was like 1990. Maybe it was like a
Ice Ice Baby came out in 88, 89, I believe.
Okay, well
but
then
he did have the tiger stripes.
That.
Oh, and Terrell Eugene Bellinger is here somewhere.
Okay, Terrell, we'll get.
We'll get to you, Terrell. I promise. Teb, yes. We'll get to you, Teb. Promise. We've been getting a lot of feedback from our fan base, but I didn't want anybody to think we were not seeing them. Oh, and then Tom says those crazy skinheads wore Doc Martens. They did. In fact, time for a cool little anecdote. You know that very, very amazing Apple computers ad where it looks like it's set in 1984, and the whole premise is, thanks to Apple, 1984 won't be 1984, and how everyone in that commercial has their head shaved. He went down to where the skinheads hung out and hired a bunch of them to be in that commercial, so they were actually honest-to-God skinheads. I just found that out recently.
I was never a fan of skinheads. We had skinheads in the town that I was in, but I just was never a fan of racism, ever. Like never, ever. And so I could not get behind it. And I actually felt really bad that there was that they had their own punk rock, because punk rock's cool. But they had their own brand of punk rock that was like almost like if you listen to bands like Sick of It All and stuff like that. It was just like it was like the worst form of punk, in my opinion. It was I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand their music. It was awful. But I remember those punk rocks, and they did wear them, but that kind of spoiled it for me. I'm like, no, you can't wear those. Everybody wears those, you know. Anyway, I wasn't a fan of the skinheads. Let's see, leg warmers and jeans. Let's see.
Sympathy goes on to say neon colors and preppy clothes via square pegs. Remember when we were watching Square Pegs? We were doing the show on that. It's funny just how much they hit the nail on the head as far as 80s fashion went.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really I like the neon colors. The little jelly bracelets I was telling you about were kind of neon colored as well. All right, here we go.
Teb's in the house says, hello, Ian and Thrash. Happy Monday. From what I understand, every teenage girl in the 80s was wearing the Madonna boy toy look.
I don't know about every girl, but it was certainly popular. And I have to say, I did not hate it. I did not hate it. When I saw girls dressing like Madonna, it was very sexy. Loved it. And then, let's see.
Tracy Rothmeyer says, haha, Robert, you are so funny. I try.
Yeah. All right, let's see. And
Ziplik says, T-Pons is all Halston tonight as far as his knowledge of men's fashion. I am.
I don't know what Halston is. What's that
Halston,
about?
it was a clothing line, I believe. Wasn't it?
I don't know.
Let's go with that.
Sure. Oh no. No. Look at
Oh no. Oh, Trey Rothmeyer says Speedos.
Speedos. No, not Speedos. never wanted to pull those off.
Which is I bet you didn't want to pull those off.
Oh no.
Actually,
Yeah,
quite
that's
the
not exactly
contrary.
what I meant.
The 80s is when boxers made a comeback. That's when, because
Yeah.
before that, it's pretty much like your granddad was wearing boxers. So
Uh-huh.
it was like old man, undergarments. But in the 80s, boxers became cool again.
Yeah.
Cindy D says boat shoes and painter jumpers.
Boat shoes
Uh,
and painter jumpers.
I remember painter's
Boat.
pants. Those were ones that have all the pockets in them.
Oh yeah, those
We
are
used to call them
cool.
cargo pants. I don't remember cargo jumpers. I'm guessing that's a sweater with a bunch of pockets in it.
Yeah. Or
And
maybe it's the overalls.
ooh, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure, but I do remember boat shoes. Is what we used to call docksiders, and those are those
Yeah.
shoes that you wore with no socks.
Mm.
Very
Mm.
popular here amongst the boating crowd. I say.
Yeah, the boating.
Mm.
Maybe here. Let's see. What else do we got here? All
Vineyard
right.
Haven. Oh, so he says Lance Ruffle socks and neon colors.
I don't know.
Neon. I don't know what ruffle socks are, but neon colors were always very, very, very big. Like I say, back in the '80s, I had sort of neon yellow Chuck Taylor high tops,
Mm.
canvas sneakers, and I loved them until they crumbled. Tom says, washed colors with bleach, one. Never again.
I washed colors with bleach once. Yeah, never
One.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't do
never
that.
again. Yeah.
You'll ruin. You will come out with acid wash stuff.
Well,
Uh,
even though even the white jeans I washed in bleach never recovered. It didn't so much. It actually yellows them. If you take pure white jeans and soak them in pure bleach, it'll turn them yellow. Of course, I was using cheap bleach, but yeah, it turned the white yellow. And not a cool
interesting.
yellow, just like a dingy yellow. Tracy says Rosari were in fashion back then. Rosaries were in fashion back then.
Oh, rosaries. Really? That's
Rosary
interesting.
beads. Mhm.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Azublik says, don't Cindy D. ENC has trouble reading the live chat while also doing the hosting duties. Zuplex, yes. What he said, we well, I'm not sure. Do we respond
We're
to Cindy?
trying to
Okay.
work it out. Yeah, we're trying to work it out with StreamYard right now because it's StreamYard who's giving me the trouble at this point, and there's nothing I can do about it other than put in the request and wait to hear back from them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Ever since I moved to my new laptop, I can't scroll down like I used to. So Porian has to do everything. So he brings them up,
yeah.
and I read them right off the banners like you guys. But I can't scroll and pick like I used to. I can see the
Yeah,
comment section, but go
so
ahead.
I'm picking and scrolling is kind of what's happening, and I'm just not reading out loud right now. So Thrash is reading out loud.
And unfortunately, we
Anubis
kind of
is
get a little
here.
bit behind. Anubis, yay, Anubis. Happy belated birthday, Anubis. And says, sup, you
Happy
crazy
birthday.
blokes. Sup to you.
Just hanging out, just doing our thing here, making you're talking about fashion of the 80s. The one subset of fashion too was the whole thrash and death metal thing happening too. People were into thrash and death metal. Uh, were definitely had their own fashion going too. They looked darker and more menacing than just like regular heavy metal. So like where I was into even like Judas Priest and Motley Crue and all regular heavy metal, people who were into um, like Death Angel and Metallica, Megadeth, and anything harder had their own look to them, as I recall. Let's see.
Anubis says, my big fad was wearing jeans with holes and tears in them.
Yeah, I
A
remember
fashion
that
that
too.
exists to this day.
Yeah.
Ziplik says, "Is Julie Brown still alive?" Good question.
I
I
think
believe she
I
is.
think the do you think so? I thought the comedian did she not die? Did she not pass away?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I think I remember hearing something about her passing, but I'm not sure. Let's see.
Daryl Johnson says Japanese girls killed it in those with though. I'll come in again. Japanese girls killed it with loose socks.
Oh, loose socks. Yes. uh,
Tracy said I hated racist punks. Me
I did
too.
too.
Me too. Tom says most skins are sharp skins. Skin heads against racial prejudice. Really?
Oh, yeah. There were some of those too that they just like the skinhead look, but uh, they weren't anyway. I
They
don't know.
weren't
I don't know what
Nazi
I'm saying.
skinheads.
Yes, they
There
weren't
are
Nazi
Nazi
skinheads.
skinheads and non-Nazi skinheads.
Yeah.
Zuplik says Madonna popularized the dark eyebrows and platinum blonde look. She certainly did.
Yes, she did. And guess who's with us?
John Doe's with us. Hey, John, how you doing? Can't stay long, but wanted to say hello.
Yeah. Well, hello,
Hello.
John. Thank you for stopping by. All right, looking for some more statements on fashion here.
Zuplik, he reminded me.
Uh,
Zuplik says, here it is. Cindy
Go
D
ahead.
says Halston was a designer popular in the 70s and 80s. I knew that. He worked with Ralph Lauren. I remember that now.
Okay.
Zuplex reminded me. Thank you very much, Cindy. I knew it was like ringing a bell. He had his own line of
Yeah.
cologne too, didn't he?
I
I believe he did.
guess. I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's see.
Music Girl 67 is here. Hey, Music Girl.
Hey,
Hello there,
music
and
girl.
good evening to everyone. I hope you are all having a wonderful Monday and wishing everyone a blessed and beautiful Holy Week ahead.
Thank you, music girl. Happy Holy Week to you as well. All right, I just see some. Let's see. Okay, let's see.
Tom says boat shoes are a blocker.
Is that Klingon?
Frau Blucher. I thought it was from Young Frankenstein, Frau Blucher. But Blucher is a type of glue. So it could be Yiddish or Klingon.
Maybe. When you said it, it certainly sounded Klingon.
Cindy D says painters wear overalls in different colors. That's right, because painters used to wear overalls so they wouldn't get their shirts destroyed. I
Yeah.
remember I knew a girl who was an artist and she used to wear those to art class. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see here.
John Doe says in the 80s, I was goth before goth was goth.
Cool. Well, goth. Yeah. Goth was a fashion style in the 80s. And carried over into the 90s as well. I did a little bit of goth in the 90s personally. One of the things we used to do is we used to go to the Addams Family. What year did Addams Family come out? 1990?
Originally?
No,
The
not the
movie?
original TV show, the movie. The
The
movie,
movie,
The Addams.
90 sounds right.
Yeah, and some friends and I used to used to dress up in goth and go watch it. And we watched Addams Family like 3 or 4 times. And every time we'd go, we'd all get together and wear dark clothes and do the black eyeshadow and stuff. The guys, I did too. You know what I mean? It was just kind of a thing we did. I didn't normally do it like to do it, but it was kind of a fun thing to do. I had some friends who were like on edgy goth, you know, and so I hung out with them every now and again, and went to Adam's Family, and that was like a thing that they used to do. They'd go to Adam, and then the other thing we did was we went to Vampire Vampire Diaries. What's that show? What was that movie with uh, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise? The vampire.
Yes. It
Yeah.
was Tales of a Vampire.
Oh yeah, Tales of a Vampire. We dress goth and go to that as well. There were a couple times there were some people who were cowboys wanted to kick our butts. Like we were at Denny's wearing all
Good old
goth, and these
boys.
cowboys were, yeah. That was a fashion I never got into. I never really got into country music, and I never really got into country wearing type of clothes. All right, let's see here.
No offense to those who do. I could never pull it off.
Yeah, I just wasn't my thing.
Music Girl 67 says Trapper Keeper notebooks and Vans tennis shoes were both big out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, I remember the Trapper Keepers. They were so fun. I loved them. I get a new one every year. And I don't know if you did this or not, or if anybody else out there did this, but I would take pictures from from magazines of my favorite band, and I would put it on the Trapper Keeper. Like I would slide it on the front of the Trapper Keeper and the back of the Trapper Keeper. So it had like Motley Crue and then Guns N' Roses on the back. And every year with my Trapper Keeper as well, like every year I'm like, oh, this is going to be the year I'm going to keep everything organized. All my subjects are going to be in order. And by about week 1.5, I'm just shoving things in that Trapper Keeper from school. I didn't keep it very well. Vans were cool. I loved Vans. I didn't wear them that often though. So let's see what else we have here. Do you see anything?
Cindy, Music Girl, a little further down says, she tells Cindy, doing well, Cindy. Thank you for asking. Glad to finally be off work. And then Cindy goes on to say,
too.
Yeah, that was the one. Cindy D says, wrap clothes via Run DMC, big T-shirt and big hoop earrings, and hats via Salt and Pepper.
Oh yes, yeah, good stuff.
Didn't Run DMC actually coin those red felt caps that they looked almost like Gilligan's cap, like a naval cap, but they were that very thick. They're the ones who actually started them all together, didn't they? Or at least popularized them, I believe.
Maybe.
Daryl John says, Julie Ann Brown, August 31st, 1958, age 64, Van Nuys, California, USA. So apparently she's still alive.
She's still alive.
Danny Staten is with us, says, greetings from South Carolina. And I'm guessing that would also be from North Carolina, too?
No. He's saying he's not representing North Carolina.
And I'm late. And I'm late. That's the end.
Glad you're here.
Zebra Libra says, I don't like skinheads. Well, you're in good company.
Libra. How are you, Zebra Libra? I think she's this person, whoever Zebra Libra is new to the channel.
Hello, Zebra Libra. Very nice to meet you, Zebra Libra. Very cool handle, by the way. Love the handle.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Music Girl 67 says, I heard something about big hair. Hey, I still have big hair. Yes, and you rock it.
Yes, you do.
And Cindy D says, yes, he did his own cologne. I knew Halston sounded familiar for a fragrance.
Well, okay, all right. See anything down here? Let's see.
I think we're finally caught up, just to be honest with you.
Are we?
Well, actually, no, we're not. Oh, we're actually way behind. We'll never catch up.
Sorry.
Folks, and again,
I'm
sorry about this, by the way. When we can go back to having me scroll while he impresarios, we should have a much easier time keeping up with everyone. So please bear with us. And thank you all for joining us tonight. And Teb says, to be honest, Miami Vice is one of the first 80s crime procedural shows to help set fashion trends thanks to the Sonny Crockett look.
Oh, yeah. Of course, big fan of the Sonny Crockett look. I don't know. I don't think you could. I was wondering if maybe you could even pull that off today, but I don't think you can. I don't think you could. All right, let's see. Oh, wait, hang on one second. I got this one. Let's do this.
Daryl Johnson says, Ian, you can get away with dressing like Roy Rogers. It's a
Roy
white
Rogers
cowboy
wouldn't be
outfit.
that bad. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just the idea was that very really bright white, like almost like Dolly Parton's manager. It's like
Oh.
bright
Okay.
white.
Roy Rogers. Hey, Roy Rogers has some good chicken, though. I'll tell you that.
Cindy says loud clothes from the late 80s and 80s like Saved by the Bells, Lisa and Fresh Prince, and Zebra Libra. Or at
Yes.
Zebra Libra. At or and.
It's at. I think that was at.
Not the
Let's
ampersand.
see.
Ampersand.
That wasn't the
Music Girl
ampersand.
says,
That was it.
I know I'm being silly.
Oh, okay.
Music Girl 67 says, I'm a bit late, but I really want to thank Tracy and Thrash for the birthday wishes on Facebook. You're very welcome.
Oh,
Happy 29 there, Music Girl.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I didn't know it was your birthday. Happy birthday. All right, let's see. What else do we have as far as I see people going back and forth with some things. I'm not sure. There's
Having
some
fellowship.
birthday wishes. Yes, talking to each other. And okay, well, I'm down at the end here, so I'm going to start working my way up here.
Probably the best way to go at this point. Music Girl 67 says, with that beard, I can picture Ian wearing a flannel shirt, jeans, and construction boots. He could so pull that off.
Was that like the working man kind of thing? I think
I'm picturing more
kinda...
like the 90s club kid, I'm picturing.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, that's what I wear to this day. That's kind of what I wear to this. I mean, I still wear that stuff. So I'm down here at the end, at the very end. So if you guys want to type in, like if I missed a comment, you want me to go retype it in, I'm much more likely to kind of catch it now as it's kind of scrolling up. What happens is at the very beginning too, is I'm talking, so comments are coming up, and so I'm kind of catching up going down. So at this point, if you want to say something, but go ahead.
We'll pull a John Collins and we'll just start fresh from the bottom up. Cindy says, I love Miami Vice. It was MTV for the TV set.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely next generation kind of cutting edge stuff.
Daryl Johnson says, flannel shirt lumberjack.
More of a 90s thing, but I mean, the flannel shirt for lumberjacks was certainly a thing, but in the Northwest, when the grunge movement hit, that's where they were. So that's what they wore.
Zublik says, what was your favorite 80s look and which fashion style still remains to this day?
I don't know. So I guess my favorite 80s look, looking back on it now, would probably just be more the punk rock look of that time. At the time, my favorite 80s look was more of the hairband stuff, but you couldn't pull that off today, but you can still pull off some of the punk rock stuff today. No problem.
It's a pity. My favorite look was the Army Navy store look, and you can't wear that today because people think you're a revolutionary.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They think you're a paramilitant. You go around in camis today. It's a thing. Dennis Keaton says, yeah, and if dressing like the cowboy don't work for you, there's a fireman and a sailor to choose from. YMCA.
Yeah, why? Yeah, if that doesn't work, I got a couple other jobs I could do. That's for sure. I could be an Indian, Native American.
Teb says, Thrash, I can picture one of your granddaughters wearing the yellow plaids like Cher from Clueless, even though that movie came out in 1995.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, things make comebacks. Things do make comebacks.
We're gonna get a little edgy here.
Ooh, Zuplik says thongs are still around. Fortunately,
thongs are still around. All right, let's see. Okay.
Zuplik says, I am glad mullets are gone.
Mullets are not gone, man. That's the problem, is they are not gone. There's a history on the mullets that I watched, and they've been around for a long time, actually. And some warrior long time ago was talking about why they like the mullet, because it could keep your your neck your neck warm, and it was short on top. I can't remember what channel it was, but it was. But they said they were doing a history of the mullet, and it said they keep your neck warm, and the short hair on top kept you from getting grabbed by the hair, so that in battle. So it was kind of a functional thing. But I hated the mullet. I hated it. I wish it was gone. Unfortunately, I think it kind of got booted a little bit in the early 90s, but I saw some people starting to rock the mullet again in the mid 90s. And I was like, what are you doing? And then next thing you know, it kind of became a thing to be not a thing. Like in the 2000s, I don't know if you saw that or not, Thrash, but it was like a thing to not be a thing. You wanted to be dumb, so you wore it. Anyway, I wish they were gone. Yeah, ironic.
You're being ironic. Which, ironically, they were using incorrectly.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Daryl Johnson says, "Sing the lumberjack song, Ian."
No.
We'll probably get a copyright strike, unfortunately. But I'm a lumberjack. Cindy D says, "Big gaudy necklaces and earrings still remain today."
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm. Tom says, "Thongs, no, hated underwear going up my butt."
Okay.
Music Girl 67 says, "You may say, yuck, Zuper, but I sure wouldn't."
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, all right. Okay. All right. Zupik says, "The YMCA liked the cut-out trousers look."
Cut is that chaps?
I'm guessing. I'm hoping. That's what he means. And Cindy D says, "Fashion goes in circles, just remade a different way." Very well said. Too true.
For sure.
Too true. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Cindy
And Ken
us?
Wilkinson says, "Good night, Cindy D."
Oh, good night. We're kind of coming at the end of things, so
yeah, we're coming up on the hour and a half mark
here. Yeah.
Music Girl says, "Wasn't the mullet more popular during the 90s with much thanks to Billy Ray Cyrus?"
So yes, for country people, for country rock, for country music, it was a thing. But for heavy metal, it was a thing because of Def Leppard, and then it kind of went out of fashion when the 90s hit for everything that wasn't country. But yes, in country music, I still think that the mullets were a big deal. All right, let's see.
Zublik says, "The cutout of the seat of the pants look."
I guess that's the chaps that he's talking about.
Denny Staten says, "So Pawns, which liquor goes best with fish? Vodka, bourbon, or rum? Seriously, as a bartender, I generally speaking recommend wine with fish. Although some people might like beer with fish, particularly a nice IPA. But if I had to pick an actual liquor to go with a fish dish, I'd probably go with vodka, and I'd do it as a vodka and cranberry, or as we call up here in Cape Cod, the Cape Codder."
Okay, vodka cranberry. Sounds
vodka cranberry.
Good. Vodka is one tasty. That's pretty much what I drink is vodka.
It mixes with everything. You can mix it with anything, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Zublik says, "Paul McCartney had a mullet in the 70s. He did, didn't he?"
Yeah. That was back in the Wings days. Well, okay. I think we're kind of coming up at the end there. I mean, obviously, a lot more stuff of fashion could be mentioned. Maybe we'll have to do 70s and 90s together. Fashion 70s and 90s, mash them together into one. But anyway, I just want to say Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this live stream. I see some people are dropping off here. We went up to 12 people and now, but don't forget to hit that like button. Please don't forget to hit the like button. And then share this on your favorite social media. And I'm hoping to get back on track again real soon this week with a podcast. And then I'll definitely be, if all else fails, I still plan on doing the live stream next Monday. So we'll see you all then. Thrash, you got anything you want to tell us about before we go?
Oh, well, I want to apologize to all of you and to Ian publicly. I already apologized personally. Because of the new schedule, Thursdays are a very tricky day for me. That's one of the reasons. That is not one of the. That is the reason why I had to reschedule my Thursday night chat to Sunday. I also, unfortunately, am going to be unable to, for at least the foreseeable future, do the Thursday podcast with Ian, which is going to overburden him even more. And I want to apologize to you guys for that too. As soon as my schedule reaches equilibrium, I can revisit the matter. We'll take it from there. Just my new schedule is kind of being juggled around. I will, however, continue to do the Sunday night a live stream, and I'm hoping to get up some new channel content later on this week. Mark Xerxes put out an amazing old made-for-TV sci-fi movie directed by Steven Spielberg, which has 70s all over it. I don't want to give the game away, but I'm putting together a review of that, and it should be a lot of fun. And that's all I'm going to say on the matter. But please be watching for new content as well as being around for my Sunday streams, please. And thank you guys for your patience.
Thank you, everybody. And Music Girl, I am back in Tennessee now. So you asked that earlier. So everybody. All right, everybody. Well, we will talk to you all again real soon. I'm going to do a little outro here with this right here.